What's up, everyone? I hope you're doing well. We're going to look at this week of astrology. I appreciate you clicking on my video. Thank you for watching my videos. We're here with this time. Um, uh, thanks to Drew for this time. I realized I needed to record this video, and there it was. So good stuff. Good stuff with the moon and Mercury on this Thursday. To say something at least about this week, and I haven't looked at it at all. Really, things have just become kind of like so streamlined towards the faded, so to speak, events with the eclipses. So we're gonna go through that, but this Jupiter and Aries stuff has been pretty cool. It's in my eighth house, but I was hoping that Jupiter being in a sign-based sextile with Saturn would kind of help me just have a better sense of structure, which is like really like fallen away with me since Mars went through there, and Saturn, it was kind of like it's like the very barest minimum, and now with Jupiter there, hopefully there'll be some kind of better way with me. I like it though. It's just if you know the right thing to do, you feel the drive, and you it's like you gain an energy by like actually going out and doing things, which is pretty cool and different. It's in my eighth house, and it hits all my planets, so it's pretty far out for me. But and the Mercury stuff sextile to Jupiter there is pretty. I guess we're going to talk about that today. I guess that's going to happen this week. Mercury just kind of crawls backwards towards Jupiter. They both move really slow. Anyway, we got this good time. I like this time. I got equal houses on the chart because my software expired and I haven't been able to re-update it, unfortunately. So it's just it's funny. It's like Mercury retrograde because a couple years ago I kind of gravitated towards that house system. Kind of made first system that really made sense to me. The Placidus and Regiomontanus houses have only recently kind of become clear to me, even like what that means, and this one really made sense. But it's like Mercury retrograde because going back. But it is some kind of bizarre stuff with that, and I think that's kind of the Neptune and Mars squaring Mercury retrograde that's really bringing in like the aggressive kind of dreamy, trippy stuff. And Mars is in the third decan now, so things have really shifted. Things have shifted. We've shifted. But we'll look at the chart. In this chart, the moon is in the fourth house. I don't think the moon likes the fourth house. It's like a pretty uncomfortable place for the moon. But I think I foster that kind of, I don't know. I think people with afflicted lights probably like my channel, but anyway, we will try to say something about it, and I guess that's the ascendant too. Yeah, I think things are afflicted, but there is like this like crest of this wave with Jupiter and Aries going forth, where like there really are ways to get through kind of the slog of what Mars and Neptune are doing, I guess, or like what all that pileup was. With all these different significators. I think it's clarifying, with Jupiter's night triplicity and fire signs. There's, you can get things done after dark. For the good too. I think Jupiter represents or symbolizes like a righteousness, and it's it's preferable, I think, to have Jupiter in Mars's sign there for taking some righteous action, or you know, there being like prominent disputes about morality and righteousness. And I think Jupiter represents like both the true and the false aspect of um, moral righteousness. Like the stuff in the Supreme Court, which I don't really want to get into, but um, with the Roe v. Wade and the moral degradation of the Supreme Court, lying under oath about settled law. Um, that kind of trickery. And I think with Mercury being in the annual chart, with Jupiter in Mercury's term, we're really seeing that tricky Jupiter in Pisces, which is like, uh, very very confused and all twisted up. And I think some people, and I think like if you want to look at it from a higher perspective, it's like it's God's way of like kind of like ensnaring these people who will be having the form of godliness, but really denying the power because they don't really believe in Jesus. So uh, more on that to come, I'm sure. But we'll look at this week. Um, we'll look at this week. We will look at this week. I don't know. I kind of like the train I was going on there. One sec. Let me get something to drink. It's kind of a feeling like I missed something a little bit there about the general situation of things. And well, I guess we could say like Venus is like coming up to Chiron, and I don't know. I don't really know. I've kind of been not knowing about a lot of stuff, and that's a really strong place. The Bible even says that a man that thinks that he knows doesn't yet know. So it's definitely very real. But so the moon will be in Libra. I guess we'll go to Sunday. Today's Thursday, Friday, Sunday. So we get into Sunday. The moon there will be in Sagittarius, with Jupiter in Aries, and the moon will apply to Jupiter immediately. And so I think, if we've kind of been dealing with these like very sharp parallels of, very bad situations versus very positive situations, not to say that, that will universally work out for you. Like Jupiter and Venus can be bad, and Mars and Saturn could be good in a chart. But generally speaking, if like that's kind of like the dichotomy we've been in, there's I think coming off of the lunar eclipse, there's like a upliftment or an uplifting sense about us. This is in the morning here in the United States, I guess. And so having that like immediate jolt probably is very righteous. It is very connected to these kind of ideas and themes. Whether they play out in a good way or bad way, I don't know, because I think with Neptune, Mars being so close, there's situations playing out. They're like the kingdom of God is near the situation, and it's even the purport of the situation is somewhat unclear. with all the Mars topics with Neptune being so close. And I see here now that Venus did go past Chiron. I'm gonna lose my place here. This must be on Friday. Today's the 14th. Is today the 14th? It's probably not. Nope, today's the 12th. So this is Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Very early Sunday morning. That Venus will be with Chiron. And Venus is ruling the Sun, who is in the third decan of Taurus. With the North Node. I think the North Node is also in the third decan of Taurus. It is. So that's like really blowing up in a painful way that, I guess there will be, like, coming out of these situations, like a kind of holistic learning, but this is a very uncomfortable place for Venus. I don't know if Venus has any dignity in this chart. She could by like term, but I don't know. But it is hard, like on the Sun side is kind of what I was getting at, because of the bad situation of Venus. And I guess we should talk about how things with Venus will change, and I guess we'll segue into that. But that happens like at the end of the month, during the Gemini new moon, and Venus is with the Taurus stellium, with now Venus ruling it, being in domicile, not being incredibly challenged by any planet. The Pluto, it does happen like right after the Pluto square, so it's kind of like there will be an extreme situation or mood or environment, atmosphere of the world, and then Venus will regain some territory, as if I wonder how it'll be when Venus actually reaches the place of the eclipse. But that won't be until June. Okay, great, lots of jumping around, but let's thank God for His wisdom and understanding, that we can understand this mystery to the glory of His name. In Jesus' name, amen. That's your prayer. It's the prayer of the week. And I want to say, like when you pray, like Jesus said, like you should pray like this, and He gave the Lord's Prayer, and that is the greater prayer. I think how Solomon prayed for wisdom, and that is like God was pleased with that, but Jesus came as greater than Solomon, and that is a higher understanding of it's a deeper understanding, it's a more revealed understanding, the Lord's Prayer. So, with the moon in Sag, I think it's pretty good. I think Jupiter's doing pretty well there. I don't know. It could feel just very, very fiery, very scattered, very, we're coming off of this lunar eclipse. Like the moon has been burned severely in a way. And, I don't recommend going out and being in the eclipse. And the reason I kind of have that opinion, more than kind of, is, just looking back on like my previous life of, not knowing anything about astrology, and looking at eclipses or being out in them, very vivid, distinct memories of that, and just thinking about what came about afterwards, and how difficult and unnecessary a lot of the energy can be when it's moving through you or people people who don't understand what that means, like what that light is. And everyone is entitled to their own opinion about that, and that's fine. But I see it as bad. So the moon will be in Sag, and we're still on Sunday here. It's harder because I like to use the whole printout chart. Hopefully, I can remedy that somehow. I'm sure that's part of this Mercury retrograde thing for me. But Mercury will be retrograde, opposing the moon, and so the moon must hit Mercury and Jupiter pretty quick. First Jupiter and then Mercury, and that's that must be on Sunday. I should have my calendar out since I don't have it on my phone. One sec. I gotta get a new planner. It's funny. All this Mercury stuff is always so funny, and we do it like 3 or 4 times a year. Okay. Um. Yep. Yep. So Sunday is the 15th. So this is the morning of Monday. So we're coming into Monday off the lunar eclipse. Um. You know, I like that this sign has so much dignity for the moon coming off the lunar eclipse. I guess that's like the gist of what I think about that. But there's like a face off with this bizarre kind of mercurial stuff that's going on. I don't think it's like in a bad way though, because I mean Jupiter and Mercury have like some kind of sympathy by aspect. So even if it's not like good, it's like a Mars relative thing, and Mercury is in Gemini, where the Mars retrograde will be. So there's a heated kind of atmosphere about all of this, but uh, there's like some cooperation perhaps with all the sign-based stuff, and that's Monday. So Monday has some good aspects. I don't know if we'll be doing much more than just kind of getting away from it all. Um, for better or worse, I think if you're a conscientious sort, I mean, what you're gonna do is what you're gonna do for sure. But like you can be conscientious to not like be out on drugs, partying under the moon type stuff. Just, that is just not me anymore. But um, the moon will be in Sagittarius throughout Tuesday as well, and still trining Venus and Chiron. So I don't know. I don't think anybody is really exempt from the Chiron lessening that's going on, and the weird Mars stuff. So I don't know. Probably discombobulated, spiritual, like kind of spaced out thinking. Um, that kind of thing. But as we get into Tuesday, I guess that's kind of like all of Tuesday. The moon is squaring Mars, so I guess what I said before about the moon having some dignity or support in Sagittarius is the whole time is going to be tempered by this moon Mars square, which will begin as soon as the moon goes into Sagittarius, actually. Not awesome. Definitely not awesome, and it's definitely much more real. The moon people, us, are being like faith driven to act, and that's like all people. Like the moon like represents like everyone. It's kind of like, I don't know. That one's definitely a lot worth thinking about, the sun and the moon, but The moon will be in Sag, just moving through that, and it's mutable energy. So there's a lot changing, a lot happening, like a lot of things, not really things moving, but like there's a lot of like data, information, action, not like really things getting moving, so to speak, but there's some, the only cardinal energy in this chart is really like Jupiter and Venus, really, and Pluto. But probably just kind of feeling bad, feeling weird, burned. Unless, the night chart people probably are digging this, with Jupiter and Aries and the sympathy between Jupiter and Aries, and Mars. But anyway, as we get into Wednesday, the moon is void in the morning and then moves into Capricorn and squares Jupiter. And I think that'll feel pretty good, honestly. I think that having the moon in Capricorn, free from Saturn, ruled by Saturn, averse to Saturn, and in a sextile with Mars, and in a square with the benefics, probably. If it's harsh, it's kind of like you gotta go through the pain to make the gain, and that's just how the game goes. But that's probably gonna be fun in a way if you like the moon and Capricorn energy, and just kind of doing your thing. It's on a Wednesday, Mercury day. Exercise, martial arts, that kind of stuff. But the moon will be in Capricorn, just making that square. Jupiter is at 1 degree, so that perfects immediately, and then Venus is at 18 degrees. So Jupiter is between Venus and, the moon is between Venus and Jupiter, and because Venus hasn't reached the 20, where's Mars? The 25th degree, so the point being the moon is enclosed between the benefic planets, and that is a good situation for the moon. So a lot of support for the moon and in the moon's exile here. On Wednesday, as far as I know, I don't see anything messing with that really. But the moon will be, so on Thursday, the moon still in Capricorn. I guess now the moon is still applying, trying to Uranus in the morning, so getting an early start in the morning, and then the moon will be just squaring Venus, which and Chiron, so definitely not comfortable. Is the moon? No, okay. Seeing if the moon was okay, so that is what's messing with it, is the Chiron being in between Jupiter and Venus here, so it's a pretty glaring oversight on my part, but yeah, that's there. So there's like a benefic enclosure with Chiron in the middle, and that is like major third wheel energy. It's like Chad and Stacy go out on a date, and they're joined by their friend. That kind of energy. But that is fun times with the moon in Capricorn, but the moon will continue on, and so will we, as the moon squares Venus, Venus and Chiron. We could talk down on it, but I think it is like a learning experience. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe you learn something at the gym, or like someone teaches you at the gym, or you have like a painful experience at the gym or something like that. I don't know, not sure, but we have moon Chiron all the time. But I think maybe like don't overdo it. Like don't push yourself. You know, I've been like working on my health um, for a while throughout all of this, like through COVID and um, but you know, I don't know. Saturn in Aquarius has like definitely been like kind of hard on my health with like this sixth house, even though it's like a good planet for me. Maybe like Saturn's actually bringing something to my sixth house that I can't even understand. It's like already kind of bad there. Um, but you know, I think just like don't overdo it. Like make sure you're well warmed up and you don't make any moves that you know your body isn't really prepared for. I think like the Jupiter and Aries stuff, like you could like try to push a force that's like your body's really not in the right spot for that, not the right shape for that, not the right, not conditioned enough to handle that load yet, maybe, and like trying not to not overdo it too much if like your body can't handle it. Because I mean, the Moon in Capricorn, not a good place for the body. Um, anyway, Thursday, the Moon, Capricorn, Venus, moving on. So the Moon is translating the light from Venus and then applying to conjunct. Where's the Sun? So the Moon is trining the Sun and applying to Pluto. And you know, we just came off the lunar eclipse. Like that light really is on the Moon until the next new moon. So I know, you know, it probably will be more difficult and crazy than we've really given it credit for, but you know, just kind of trying to have a sensible approach here. But the Moon being with Pluto, nothing super enjoyable about that. Not fun on Thursday night. But there is like a good light on the Moon, and with the Sun Pluto contact being so emphasized there, and the Moon being with Pluto, you know, I mean, the situation will be talking about this thing. You know, Pluto is rich people, and the Sun is, you know, the leaders, or like also like rich people too. It can be the government. The Sun is kind of hard to know about. You can't really stare at the Sun too long, or at all. But the Moon will be trining the Sun with Pluto, not fun. And then on the 20th, Friday, the Moon moves into Aquarius with Saturn and sextiles Jupiter in Aries. And you know, I think this is kind of like another version of like the health goth thing that we're doing here, and that, you know, it's kind of like a more more Blade Runner-esque version. And you know, with the Moon trining Mercury retrograde, I think it will be strange. It will be pretty odd. Mercury's moving back significantly now. I think, you know, Mercury will meet the Sun at the first degree or 0th degree of so Mercury is almost Kazemi here, and like we've gone through the, you know, the first stage of Mercury retrograde where Mercury slows down and, you know, things that have to pass away are coming to the surface to be like set on fire pretty much. And so like, you know, with the Mercury moving so close to the Sun, it's burning it up, and then that you know, that substrate gets like burned up and purified when the Mercury goes into the Sun, which can, you know, it's not always like fun or good or whatnot, but we definitely become more aware about something. And with the Moon being so close to that, by trine, it's affecting the situation that we're in. And this is Mercury's term or face of Aquarius, I believe. I could be wrong. I think it's the decan, it's the term. I mean, the face. It's the face of Aquarius with Mercury here, which I think is important, because I think Mercury did a lot of work there back in January times, February, not sure, January, February. And Mercury was with Pluto. Mercury was on these degrees, being retrograde. So we're referencing all of that, and that's coming up right to relevance. That was also when Venus was retrograde too, and Venus is been in a square to all of that, which is something I'd like to hear more about myself from other people. How this, Venus retrograde is being affected by that. Venus retrograde is a clear reference to what's going on now with Venus in Aries. Contrasting it to how we were all doing during Venus in Pisces, not all of us, but something like that is less dignified for sure. But the moon will be in Aquarius here, and I don't know, let's advance the chart. I'm not sure what the moon does here. So the moon starts squaring planets in Taurus, starting with Uranus, so activating the Saturn-Uranus square, and coming into the square with the node where Saturn is sitting, about to station retrograde. So I think things get serious here. Things get serious, and I think they stay serious, and that's kind of like 2 days of that, starting on 8 a.m. on Saturday or Friday. Ugh. So it won't be hot. It won't be hot. The moon in Aquarius, but it is interesting because the moon will have to sextile Venus, who's with Jupiter. So there probably is more support here. Take care of yourself. I think taking care of yourself is good. That's going to be instrumental to you being able to do anything. So take care of yourself, protect yourself. This is a digression, but with Saturn and Aquarius, I've been thinking a lot more about bad winds or winds of death and destruction. And with the tornado that my community lived through, as one community out of many, pretty personal, and I got to thinking about that a lot. Because, with the new turning of the ages, Saturn and Aquarius, Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions in Aquarius, probably indicate bad air or problems with the air, particulates in the air that cause the proliferation of diseases. When Bill Gates keeps coming out out of the closet, and he's like, there will be more pandemics. There will be more pandemics. Pops his head out. But, so the moon is kind of caught up in all of these ideas and problems, I think, and not to say that there'll be a natural disaster at this time. I don't really see that necessarily. I mean, the moon is going to be squaring the eclipse, right? Both of them. So the moon will be squaring both eclipses with Saturn. First the Taurus eclipse, and then the Scorpio eclipse. So definitely coming to grips with the situation at hand, probably, with the ongoing situations, kind of maybe the weight of it is very heavy, like a cloud in the sky above people's minds, but especially because this is happening at night, probably not a good night. The moon goes into Gemini, and I guess we're on Sunday here, so that's Saturday night. But it's a time. It's just time. You gotta go through it, and there's not gonna be another eclipse, right? Not until later this year. So be be grounded and don't let the mental, the mental cage like trap you down. Because I think where this is going is like towards Mars and Jupiter here, Venus, who I think have some dignity. I think the moon is with Mars at the anaretic degree, so that's bad too. So I mean, there's bad stuff coming for sure next week, on a lot of ways. So I don't know, just we'll get through it. We've got through worse, I think. But so the moon will be in Gemini though, and the moon immediately makes a square to the sun in Gemini. So I mean, things are moving on. Like I think things are better for the sun here than they were. Now the ruler of the sun is retrograde at the 0 degree of Gemini, rather than being Venus in Aries, which I think was kind of depressing for the sun. But things with those themes will probably come out in a pretty odd looking way. I think that maybe I don't know. I'm not sure. They might look really bright and new and clear in a way. Not sure about that one. That's interesting. But the moon will be in Pisces starting next week and the beginning of end of Sunday. And I don't think the moon makes any more aspects because the moon will be in aversion to Jupiter and with Mars. And Mercury is going to be at the 29th degree of Taurus, and that tells me that the moon has a long time to move before it makes any more aspects. So the moon can't see any of the other planets here. So it's a bad situation for the moon because the moon doesn't have any explicit support. Only this Jupiter in Aries, which the moon can't see, and so the moon is actually applying to Saturn. Well, no, the moon can't see Saturn either, so it's really just the moon and Mars in this chart, and then the oh wow. So the moon actually makes a sextile to Mercury before it makes the conjunction to Mars. So we have a very strong Mars-Mercury signification here, with Venus and Aries too, ruling Mercury. So it gets extreme. It's when things are at the 29th degree and the moon is there, I think that it's bound to be extreme. It's bound to be unusual stuff. Okay, but that's next week. So I hope you enjoy taking it one day at a time out there, and it's just time. Just goes by. So I think we are in a lot of ways moving towards some better times. At least things are changing now, and I like that. Let's look at, kind of left this at like a terrifying spot here with the moon and Mercury and Venus and Aries and Mars at the 29th degree. And of course this is the Mars return of the George Floyd protests, and there's a lot of dynamic action in this chart. Jupiter now in Aries. So the moon will move into Aries before Mars, and then Mars will join the moon and Jupiter in Aries with Venus. So the moon will actually be enclosed by Mars and Jupiter next week. So these are not ordinary times. Like there's a lot of dynamic shifting parts that come into play here. The moon will be in a sextile the sun, but we're getting a little too far into next week. We're already on Wednesday of next week. So yeah, next week we deal with all that, and then the moon will be in Aries, and Mars and Jupiter will be within 2 degrees again. So there'll be a Mars Jupiter conjunction all next week, and it looks to be pretty intense, pretty fiery. The intensity, especially with Venus square Pluto there as well. So, if this were a movie, it'd be this week, right? This week and next week. But I think it becomes not a movie anymore next week, and that's really interesting development with all of the planets being drained out of Pisces with Neptune and put into Aries, where things are very real and direct and in our faces, with all the themes. And Venus will actually be in a version starting a little after that with the planets in Aries, so there'll be another kind of duality. But I think it'll be good because having the moon able to apply to the benefics for multiple days in a row will be and definitely be desirable, with the moon gaining light after the next new moon. So I think I don't think this is the end of the world, but it is intense, and we will come out of it. But I thank you. Thanks for listening to my channel. Thanks for all the good stuff you're doing. And I will catch you around. I'll see you next time. Peace.